What is up, guys? Welcome on back to TK's Garage. And yeah, saw this over in Fortune today. I'll put it up on the screen. Looks like Frank B Rhodes is back in the news and wants to take over Chrysler. We've heard this before, but he actually penned an entire article over here at Fortune.com, and let's just get directly into it. So, he starts by saying Stellantis has let the Chrysler and Dodge brands deteriorate to the point where there might not be a return. That needs to change, and fast. He says, but before I get into that, a necessary disclaimer. We know this already, but he said, I am the great-grandson of Walter P. Chrysler, the founder of Chrysler. My grandmother, Bernice Chrysler, told me before she passed in 1979 to do what I can to keep the engine running. In August, I wrote a 17-page open letter calling for the Chrysler and Dodge brands to be returned to American hands. Addressing it to Carlos Tavares and Christine Fuel, the CEOs of Stellantis and Chrysler's brand, respectively. These once proud American brands have languished under Stellantis, based in the Netherlands. I proposed creating a new entity called New Chrysler Dodge LLC to acquire the Chrysler and Dodge brands. Stellantis rejected this idea, telling the Detroit Free Press that it remains committed to each of the 14 brands in its portfolio, among them Jeep, Ram, Dodge, and Chrysler, in addition to European makes like Fiat, Opel, Peugeot, and Alfa Romeo. The brands were each given a 10-year time frame to build a profitable and sustainable business. A company spokesperson told the paper, like Jeep and Ram brands, Chrysler and Dodge are at the forefront of Stellantis' transformation to clean mobility. Benefiting from the group's cutting-edge technology and scale, the company is not pursuing splitting off any of its brands. Even though a month before any of this came out, that's exactly what they said they were going to do. That they were going to cut Chrysler, that they were going to cut Maserati. I believe that they were in active negotiations to sell Chrysler and some plants to BYD. There's no doubt there in my mind. He goes on with the next part of his letter, or next part of his article, and it says, EV obsession and stagnant lineup. In my opinion, Tavares doesn't care nearly enough about Chrysler and Dodge while enjoying an exorbitant salary criticized by investors. He's embarked on cost cutting to the extent that factories are in disrepair, sales are down, and dealers are in dire need of new products. That is a fact. You can't cost cut your way back to profitability. That worked for a couple of quarters and you cut those costs, and yeah, you were profitable, but you have doghouse measures instituted right now because you can't make any money, man. Stellantis has set Chrysler on a path to an all-electric lineup by 2028. Boo. Anyways, it's a questionable move considering broader market trends. Other automakers are opting for hybrid electric vehicles to address the slowdown in growth for fully electric vehicles. Many brands recognize that the added cost, limited charging infrastructure, and inconvenience of EVs have hindered widespread adoption. It's a fact. Nobody wants to be able to buy a car that they can't even leave their city with. But anyways, he goes all the way in and he talks about the stuff that is coming. And he even mentions Mopar Jesus in this article. He said, that the company needs a leader that knows cars. I agree wholeheartedly with this assessment. He says, this is a code red situation. Stellantis needs a leader who understands the passion behind these brands, someone who can reignite the spirit of Chrysler and Dodge. Tim Kuniskis, the recently retired CEO of Dodge and Ram, would be the perfect candidate to fix these brands. However, for that to happen, Stellantis would need to give him the autonomy to run them without the constant pressure of the board's constraints. I agree. Only then can the brands be revitalized and returned to their former glory. Stellantis needs leadership that understands the American automotive market from a car enthusiast's perspective. Someone who can build on the legacy of Chrysler and Dodge, develop vehicles that speak to what customers here really want. A leader who knows cars, not just balance sheets, can guide these brands back to their roots, making vehicles people actually want to buy, rather than forcing them into trends they aren't ready for. I couldn't agree more. So the article is at fortune.com. I'll try to put a link in the description down below. It was written by Frank B Rhodes Jr. directly. Look, I don't know. I don't know where we go from here. I got to be honest. I know that possibly this week Tavares could be out. And like I said, I know that they're already in negotiations with Tim Kuniskis. Whether he's willing to take all that on, that's a whole nother story. It will be interesting to see how the future plays out, but I'd love to know what you guys think. I mean, Frank B Rhodes Jr. now has put out a few different articles, the open letter. He's been on Racer X's channel in terms of a full interview. Do you agree with Frank B Rhodes' assessment that Chrysler and Dodge need to come back to American hands? In that case, personally, I agree. I think he is 100% spot on when it comes to that. How that happens, though, that is, I guess, up for discussion on how that would even happen. I know as Stellantis gets into more trouble, they're instituting doghouse measures, which if you don't know what that means, it's an internal thing for them where they just don't approve any cash spending at all. Employees can't do any purchases for the company, nothing. They're not paying suppliers. They are saving every dollar in these doghouse measures right now that they can. But I leave the question to you. What do you guys think about it? You guys check out the article. I did pop up a couple of images of it here, but I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments section down below. That's going to do it for me. Give the video a big thumbs up if you like what I do. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And as always, stay petty, my friends.